Yes. I've seen you a few times around these tables. Great to be back in beautiful British Columbia. As a born and bred Western Canadian, I always feel at home when I'm in BC. Some of my best childhood memories are here from our camping trips and family visits and so on. And I remember when I would go on these road trips with my parents, and they would basically teach me the lesson of Canada that if you want something, you got to work for it. We went to Penticton once for a campsite, and there was these kids tearing around on Sea-Doos, jet skis. So I said to my dad, "Can you rent me one of those?" And he said, "Well, we don't have enough money for that, but we could rent you a little pedal boat instead." So I pedaled out into the middle of the lake, and these rich kids came up on their Sea-Doos and started splashing me and laughing. So I went back to the shore, and I told my dad about how terrible this was, and he should really rent me a jet ski. And he said, "Well, I'll make you a deal. When you get back home, we'll try to find you a job so you can save up some money. And when you turn 16, we'll lend you the minivan, and you can use your money to fill it with gas and to rent yourself your own campsite and to rent your own Sea-Doo. Because that's how life works. You have to work hard if you want stuff. But in Canada, if you work hard, you get stuff. You get a house, you get good food, you get a safe neighborhood." That was the Canadian promise. But after 9 years of the NDP Liberal government, that promise is broken. Both carbon tax Chrystia Freeland and carbon tax Carney have been running our economy into the ground for the last 5 years. They have been Justin Trudeau's economic lieutenants. Carbon tax Carney is the official economic advisor to Justin Trudeau. Chrystia Freeland is his, until recently, finance minister. What have they done? Well, we have 2 million people lined up at food banks. The cost of food has risen 37% faster in Canada than in the United States over the last 4 years. Cost of housing has doubled. It's risen faster than in any other G7 country. Vancouver house prices are now the most expensive in North America, worse than New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, all the big American cities that have more people, more money, and less land. Their folks get more affordable homes than do Vancouverites. And look at our economic growth. It's the worst in the G7 since Carney and Freeland took over Justin Trudeau's economic policy. Our per capita GDP, that's income per person, is lower than it was in 2019, the year before COVID, even while the American incomes have gone up by 8%. So $500 billion of net investment has left Canada to go to the United States, where it is building businesses, pipelines, factories, mines that pay American wages with our investment dollars. Why is the money leaving? Because you can't get anything built in Canada, and even if you do, you're taxed into the ground for doing it. So we're losing, all because carbon tax Carney and carbon tax Chrystia have been driving the economic policy off the cliff. And now, carbon tax Carney wants to go even further. He proposes to raise the carbon tax even more. He has the same policies as Justin Trudeau. That's why I say they're both just like Justin. And we'll see, they'll lie. The lying Liberals will try to tell you that they are going to do everything differently than they have done for the last 9 years. They're going to pretend that they've changed their mind about all of the policies that they imposed on our people for 9 long years. But they'll just tell the lie long enough to get through the election, and then they'll go back to doing what they've been doing before. Meanwhile, while the Liberal Party is in chaos and Jagmeet Singh keeps them in power, our country is faced with the new threat of President Trump's proposed tariffs. We could not be weaker or more divided than we are after 9 years of the NDP Liberal government. And That is why we need a carbon tax election, so that Canadians can elect a strong, competent, patriotic government that will take back control. We will take back control of inflation, take back control of spending, debt, taxes, take back control of immigration, take back control of our borders and crime and drugs. We need to take back control of our lives in Canada. That can only happen with a new election to allow Canadians to choose a common-sense Conservative government. What will we do? We will axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. Let's start with taxes. I have now announced 3 major tax cuts if I am elected. 1, I will axe the carbon tax that Carney, Freeland, and Trudeau have imposed on Canadians. Jagmeet Singh has voted to quadruple that tax as well. I will get rid of it to lower gas, heat, and grocery bills, and to bring home $30 billion in annual GDP growth that even the government admits would return if we got rid of this tax. 2, I've announced I will take the GST off new homes to save you up to $50,000 in your purchase and to stimulate an extra 30,000 homes built every single year. 3, I announced today that I will reverse the Liberal jobs tax. That is the hike in the capital gains tax. I will reverse last year's capital gains tax hike so that we reward our farmers, entrepreneurs, small businesses, home builders, and other risk takers for putting money out on the line to build our economy. We need more investment, not less, and so I will axe the Liberal jobs tax and bring down capital gains taxes for Canadians. That is part of my plan to bring home investment. It also includes rapidly green lighting, LNG liquefaction plants, mines, and data centers, massive data centers. You know, Meta, Google, Microsoft, and Amazon are all either buying or refurbishing nuclear plants so that they can power their own data centers. An AI inquiry takes almost 10 times as much electricity as a Google search. So these massive data centers require energy. What do we have in Canada? Clean, reliable, baseload energy. I want these billions of dollars invested here so we get the revenues and we get the jobs. But that means we have to approve nuclear plants, LNG plants, natural gas power plants, and hydroelectric projects, and we need to approve them in 18 months, not 18 years. We need to approve LNG exports so that British Columbians can send our 1,300 trillion cubic feet of natural gas to Asia, where it will close dirty coal-fired plants and replace it with clean Canadian energy while we bring home paychecks for our welders, our pipe fitters, our carpenters, and our people back in this country. We need to fix the budget by capping government spending, cutting government waste, cutting back on corporate welfare, bureaucracy, and consultants so we can bring down deficits, interest rates, inflation, and income taxes. And we need to build the homes. Right now in Vancouver, 60% of the cost of every newly built home is government. Taxes, charges, fees, delays, consultants, lawyers, accountants, lobbyists. That's where the money goes for new homes in Vancouver. For every single newly built home in Vancouver today, according to the C.D. Howe Institute, $1.3 million is to pay the government. And only about $500,000 is to pay for materials, land, workers, and profit for the builder. So more money from a new home goes to bureaucrats than goes to the carpenters, electricians, and plumbers who actually build the home. And to add insult to injury, most of the people who build homes can't afford to live in them. We must slash the government, bureaucracy, and taxes. So I will take the GST off new homes. I will pressure the EB government to take the PST off new homes so that we can reduce the cost by hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I will incentivize the cities of the Lower Mainland to speed up permits, free up land, and cut development charges so we can build 15% more homes per year every year, and we can restore home ownership like we had before this NDP Liberal government. And they will be in safe neighborhoods because I will stop the crime. I will carry out the single biggest crackdown on crime and drugs in the history of Canada. It will be absolutely brutal how I will crack down on criminals. First of all, we will get rid of automatic release for the criminals who get out again and again and again. Right now, in Vancouver, they have to arrest the same person as many as 150 times a year. Now, that's just not a number that I pulled out of thin air. It's a fact. The BC Association of Mayors wrote in a letter to the federal government that the Vancouver police arrested the same 40 offenders 6,000 times. Think about that for a second. 40 guys did 6,000 crimes. That's 150 crimes per offender per year, one crime every 2 days per person. But they keep getting out. That's because of the NDP Liberal laws, C5, C75, and C83. I will repeal all those laws. And I will pass a new law that's called jail not bail. It means that repeat offenders will be ineligible for bail. They will be ineligible for parole, probation, or even house arrest. It will be jail not bail, jail not bail. We will secure the borders with high-powered scanners to intercept drugs, guns, and stolen vehicles at our ports. More boots on the ground at our borders. We will pay for it by canceling the multi-billion-dollar gun grab. The government is trying to take guns away from licensed, law-abiding, trained, and tested sport shooters and hunters who are not criminals. This is a waste of money. I will end that and put it into going after gangsters and gun smugglers, and we will ban the drugs. There will be a hard ban on all the substances in the Controlled Substances and Drugs Act. We will ban fentanyl, crack, heroin, cocaine. I will shut down the consumption sites. I will shut down the consumption sites. And I want to thank the Chinese community in Richmond that has stood up against these drug dens, and thank them for fighting back against these disastrous locations. I will be banning these things and getting the drugs out of your community. We will no longer give out tax-funded opioids. Instead, we will provide treatment and recovery services to get people off drugs and bring them home drug-free. Speaking of free, we will be the freest country on earth. I will make clear to President Trump that we will never be the 51st state. We will be a strong and independent and sovereign country. We will retaliate against any American tariffs on our people and on our industries. And we will also say to President Trump, if you attack our economy, you will make America weaker, because your number one friend and neighbor will be unable to do its best on borders and national defense if its economy is under attack. So why not our two separate countries work together to rebuild our economies, integrate even more free trade, and use the resulting resources to strengthen our borders and our militaries in order to stop danger. Let's make both countries, separate and sovereign as they are, stronger, safer, and better. That is the common sense conservative approach. Our approach is to bring home Canada's promise, to make Canada stronger and more secure, to put Canadians first, Canada first, Canada last, Canada always. Let's bring it home. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. I will now be calling on each of your questions. Please remember to keep your questions connect. Get as many as possible. First, we'll go to Hannah TV.
My name is Yejin from Hannah TV. And my question is, what do you think is Canada's greatest current challenge, and how do you propose to overcome it?
I think our biggest challenge right now is that our people can't afford to live. They can't afford homes, food, the essentials. They feel like there's no hope that they'll ever afford a home. In Vancouver today, it takes 29 years for the average family to save up for a down payment. And what we need to do is drive down the cost of government so we can drive down the cost of living. Let's cut bureaucracy, consultants, corporate welfare, foreign aid, to reduce the cost of government so we can bring down income tax, inflation, and interest rates. Let's remove government gatekeepers to rapidly build homes that people can afford and launch major industrial projects that will provide powerful paychecks. This is our common sense plan to build a paycheck economy rather than a credit card economy. Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Poilievre. This is Jessica from Snowden. My question is, the reverse tariffs imposed by the United States will undoubtedly hurt local business owners. How do you plan to respond?
First, I will be imposing retaliatory tariffs on any country that targets our economy. That includes the United States. Then I will lock arms with grassroots economic allies in the United States to convince them to pressure the administration to stop these tariffs. That means going to the Midwest refineries who import our oil and warning them that their workers could lose their jobs because American tariffs on Canadian energy are going to make it uneconomical. Going to American home builders and saying, why do you want to pay more for lumber when you could have our British Columbia lumber tariff-free? And going to the other businesses that get hit by Canadian counter tariffs and telling them that the Canadian tariffs could be lifted if the American administration would do the same. I would also say to President Trump, if we have total, open, free trade across our border, that will boost the GDP of Canada, and I pledge to spend that extra money building our military to protect protect Canada first, but also it will protect America's northern flank. So it's in America's interest to remove tariffs and, in fact, to allow even more free trade than we have today. That is the message that I have for the U.S. administration. And what I think we need is a strong leader. President Trump sees weakness in the Liberals. We have a weak prime minister. We have a totally chaotic Liberal Party that is fighting for power and incapable of governing. We have a weak economy. We need a strong leader with a strong economy, and that's what common sense Conservatives will deliver to put Canada first.
Compared with the Liberals, do we have any policy for China?
I have none that I can announce right now at this moment.
So I have another question.
Okay.
How do you guide all the industry and all the provinces to support Canada first?
First of all, you need a strong prime minister. I've never seen it before like this, where we have 10 different premiers all trying to negotiate with the White House. It's never been like this before. You know, when Mulroney was prime minister, he negotiated with Reagan and Bush on trade and acid rain. And all the provinces respected, and the provinces were led by different parties, NDP, Liberal, Conservative. They all said Prime Minister Mulroney is our leader, and he has the respect of all Canadians to negotiate, which he did and succeeded. When Prime Minister Chrétien and Martin were in charge, the same was true. They represented Canada to the White House. When Prime Minister Harper was there, he got a deal on softwood lumber within 80 days of taking office and an exemption to Buy America restrictions. So the provinces looked to the Prime Minister of Canada and said, that is our voice. Right now, Nobody trusts Justin Trudeau, Chrystia Freeland, or Carbon Tax Carney. So each premier is separately negotiating. What we need now is a strong prime minister who can take back control of the diplomatic agenda, meet the president, and negotiate an end to these threatened tariffs, a stronger trade pact, and more security for both of our separate and sovereign nations. That's how. Thank you. Hello again.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.
With the Liberal Party's leadership race featuring candidates such as Mark Carney, Chrystia Freeland, Chandra Arya, and Frank Baylis, what message would you convey to Canadians who are considering supporting these individuals over the Conservative Party in the upcoming election?
They're all just like Justin. They agree with him on everything. You know, the only thing Carbon Tax Carney disagrees with Trudeau about is Carney says the carbon tax is not high enough. And he's going to try and lie to you about that over the next few months. But we have him on tape saying that the carbon tax needs to go up even more than it is already. This, as Canadians can't even afford to eat, heat, or house themselves. Chrystia Freeland, Carbon Tax Chrystia, she has brought in a deficit of $62 billion. And yes, she quit. Why did she quit as finance minister? Because Trudeau had told her the Friday before he was going to fire her. So she didn't quit because she was unhappy with the out-of-control spending in the government. She quit because she didn't want to lose her job. So they're all just like Justin. They've all helped him break the country. They will make things even worse if given the chance. We need a change. We need Canadians to elect a common-sense Conservative government that will bring home Canada's promise. And that's what we will offer. Thank you.
What has come from the opposition today stating that there has been Indian interference in politics? Many people want to know if there have been accusations of interference in the Conservative leadership as well. And people have taken the security clearance but without still being gagged. Why don't you?
Well, that's not true, because I would have been gagged if I had taken the government briefings. We confirmed that when we asked the officials what would be involved in it. And so we know that what Trudeau and the NDP Liberals want to do is gag me so that I can't speak without risk of criminal prosecution against me. I'm not going to be gagged. The government has the legal authority under the CSIS Act anytime it wants to inform me if there is a risk of foreign interference. And they have not done that. So I have to believe that it's just Liberals politicizing this issue to score political points. And by the way, why is it that this is happening now? We didn't have these problems before this NDP Liberal government. We didn't have foreign countries like China or India or Russia flagrantly interfering or assassinating Canadians on our soil before this Liberal government. They should take responsibility for the fact that Canadians are now victim to foreign interference. They have created this problem. We're the ones that will fix it. They still haven't implemented the foreign agent registry. Why? If they are so interested in knowing who's operating on behalf of a foreign government, why is there no registry set up and running today with the names on it? We've been calling for that for 6 years, and still we have nothing. So Justin Trudeau and the NDP Liberals are trying to cover up the fact that Beijing interfered in 3 consecutive elections to help Trudeau win. He knew about it, and he allowed it because he wanted to benefit from it. And he has risked and imperiled our country's national interest for his own personal benefit. And what we need is a new common-sense Conservative government that will end the foreign interference by all governments and take back control of our democracy.
So we are here to discuss about pressing issue. I think you know.
Oh, can I just say one more thing on that? Why won't Trudeau release the names? Why won't he release the names? If there are people who have betrayed Canada and knowingly work to the advantage of a foreign government in any political party, I issue the challenge. Release the names. Make the names public. Why haven't they? Do you have an answer? Anybody?
Too many liberal names.
Too many liberal names on that list. I'm not afraid. Release the names. I've told them, even if you claim there are conservatives on the list, release the names. And what I've said is, when I'm Prime Minister, this is my plan. I'm going to ask the security and intelligence bodies to give all the names over to a judge. The judge will review the evidence and publish a public report with the names and the evidence against anyone who was knowingly working against Canada's interests to the benefit of a foreign government. That's how certain I am that we have integrity in the Conservative Party. And if Justin Trudeau were so certain himself, then he would agree with me and he would publish the names. Ask them that. Why won't they release the names? Yes, sir.
So there's a recent funding by RCC to do a prediction of jobs instruments coming to Canada. And a program like LNIC Link, a program that helps people to learn English, to the society for future career as well. With no tuition has been cut, and there's 800 students here in BC per se, it's effective. So what kind of step is your government going to take to ensure stable and long-term funding for these kind of programs to help immigrants to integrate?
Sorry, what is the program exactly?
LINC, the language for newcomers. And would you consider a federal mandate for funding framework like this to prevent such cuts occurring in your government, given that you are your stand on cutting federal funding for balancing the budget?
I don't have all the information on that particular program. All I will say is that immigration is totally out of control after 9 years of the NDP Liberals. They've caused population growth that is vastly disproportionate to our ability to house, employ, and care for newcomers. They grew the population by a three times faster rate than we grew the housing stock. And that's one of the reasons why we have a shortage today. We need to get back to common sense, controlled, and compassionate immigration that brings people here who have skills that our economy needs in numbers that our housing, job, and social safety net can absorb. And that is the approach that we will be taking. Basically, we had the best immigration system in the world before Justin Trudeau and the NDP Liberals destroyed it. I will reestablish that fantastic immigration system, and it will include language training, because we want people to speak one or both of Canada's 2 official languages. The best indicator of whether someone will be successfully integrated into our economy and society is if they can speak the language. It's great if they can speak other languages. That's positive. But we also need people to be able to communicate in the official languages of Canada, which are English and French. And I will make sure that we have the resources to make that happen. Thank you.
My question is, what do you think what real behind Donald Trump trying to treat and even his 51st state post the Canada is very.
What do I think about? I missed the first sentence of your question. What do I think about? What's really behind it? That's a good question. Very good question. I think he smells weakness. He smells weakness. Look, President Trump was extremely successful as a real estate developer in the most cutthroat economic jungle in the world called Manhattan. This is hardball. That, being a real estate developer is tough anywhere. Manhattan, that's the jungle. He understands strength and he understands weakness, and he can see weakness a mile away. And the Liberal Party is weak. Justin Trudeau, Mark Carney, Chrystia Freeland are weak. And now we're divided. So he is moving in to take advantage of that, to secure as many concessions as possible. And, you know, we've given him a lot. The Liberals have given Trump some wonderful gifts. They blocked 2 pipelines and about a dozen LNG plants. So what does that mean? It means we have to give all our energy to the Americans at a massive discount. We can't send our energy to Asia or Europe because we can't get our oil and gas to our tidewaters. So the Americans pay us, you know, last time I checked, Western Canada oil was being sold in America for $60 while the world price was $75. That's $15. No big deal, right? What if you're selling 3 million barrels a day? 3 million times 15. Big bucks every single day. That's $45 million a day in profit they get off our energy because we can't sell it directly. Natural gas, $4 per million metric British thermal units in North America, $13 in Europe. So the Americans get our gas for $4. They can sell it in Europe for $13. They're completely eating our lunch. This is what we get for having stupid policies by stupid leaders. And Donald Trump should be sending flowers to the Liberal government to thank them for how much they have given him. He's probably, you know, when I'm Prime Minister, the stupidity is going to end. We're going to reprove natural gas liquefaction plants. I'm going to encourage pipelines. I'm going to develop more of our resources. We're going to fix the port of Vancouver so that we can actually ship more of our goods abroad. And we're going to have more interprovincial free trade within Canada so we're not so reliant on the Americans. That gives us strength. We need strength to put Canada first.
Thank you. We'll go over to KTV.
Hi there. Yes. Last year, 2023 was the first year on record that the number of doctors in Canada actually went down. And in that year, our overall population went up by 1.2 million. So we have 1.2 million more people who need doctors and fewer doctors to care for them. There are 2 reasons for this. One, our taxes are extremely high. If you're a doctor in Canada today, you're paying 53% income tax, and now Trudeau's raised the capital gains tax on your retirement fund. You could go to the States and pay 17 or 18% income tax, and you earn American dollars, which are worth 40% more, and the cost of your home is probably going to be 25% less. By the way, you get sunshine all year round. So it's not hard to understand why many doctors are abandoning our communities. So I will cut taxes, cut income tax. I will also cut the capital gains tax to make this a more attractive place for doctors to work. Secondly, we have 20,000 immigrant doctors, 32,000 immigrant nurses who cannot work in Canada because they can't get a license to practice. 85% of Filipino nurses cannot work in Canada. When I got my eye surgery done, there was a technician who works in Canada for 20 days a month, and then he goes to as a technician. He goes and does eye surgeries in Abu Dhabi, the United Arab Emirates, for 10 days a month. So they let him work as a doctor, and we only let him work as a technician. So apparently Emirati eyeballs are different than Canadian eyeballs. Why can't he do surgeries here? In Toronto, they say if you have a heart attack, don't call 911. Call a taxi, because the taxi driver is probably a doctor. And so we're forcing our doctors to drive taxis. So what's the solution? The answer is to bring in a national Blue Seal license that allows immigrant doctors and nurses to take a test, prove they are qualified within 60 days, and get working in our medical system. we would have tens of thousands of doctors and nurses licensed without having to send them through a full medical education, which is very costly. And they would be here and now. We wouldn't have to wait. We try to recruit young people to go into medicine. It's a 10-year cycle to get them through an undergrad, med school, residency. Let's do it now when we have these doctors. Let's license them to our high standards based on their own merits, and therefore we can get better medical care. Do you agree with that? Thank you.
Next we go to NTD TV.
Yeah. I have to know more, and I have to get more intelligence information before I can answer that question. So I'm afraid I don't have a good answer for you right now. I will follow what the Americans do, and I will rely on the best intelligence to protect our people. Thank you.
Thank you. Now to the Prime Minister.
Yes, sir. Yes.
You said that Trump sees a weakness, can be, but if you come to power, do you feel this is an opportunity as well that we will become these countries, Mexico, Greenland, Canada, America, we can come in as a union, as a European Union, and that might be need of for Canada as well as for now. We got the superpower America, we got the manpower in Mexico, and then especially with the sea route opening up to the north in the coming future, there's an opportunity coming together as a union that can be helpful for all the nations.
I support more free trade, more reciprocal access to markets, but I don't support forming a union. For example, EU has a monetary union. So they have one currency for all of the EU, and I don't think that's a good idea. I think the Federal Reserve is a disaster. I don't like the Federal Reserve. I don't want them in charge of our monetary policy. They print money like crazy. I want a much harder monetary approach than they do with the Federal Reserve. And I want a stronger Canadian dollar that I believe we can achieve by having a more powerful free enterprise economy with with tighter monetary control on the central bank. I also want us to have the independent decision-making authority that comes with having our own currency. So I would not support a European Union-style approach to this continent. I do think the Americans are our best friends, our closest allies. We love Americans, but we are not Americans. We are independent, we are separate, and we are proudly Canadian. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. So my question is on foreign policy. The Liberal government, and this is their historic performance, is that they've always had issues with acrimonious relationships with India. And I'm wondering if home government, would you change your the acrimonious relationship that Canada has with India whenever the Liberals are?
My approach will be to put Canada first. And if countries work in Canada's interest, then I'll work with them. But it has to be Canada first. We have to be the winners. We have to gain in whoever we deal with. So we will, and this is a message to all countries. We won't allow foreign interference in our country. We won't allow stronger.
Now we go to Dr. Thomas.
Yes.
Thank you. My question is, U.S. President Trump has said imposed 25% tariff. Actually, the BC Premier and also other Premier mentioned that they went to the U.S. to convince. How you can make U.S. change their mind? How you convince them to change?
Look, President Trump wants to put America first. I want to put Canada first. The good news is there's lots of overlap between the interests and values of our two countries. So the case I would make to President Trump is this. You have two options. If you attack the Canadian economy with tariffs, then we will have to reciprocate with tariffs on America's economy. Therefore, both of us will be poorer and less able to feed our people and defend our continent. Or you can allow free trade between our countries, and both economies will be richer. And I pledge to devote that additional wealth to rebuilding our military and keeping the northern part of our shared continent secure from hostile foreign powers. In other words, by working together, our two separate countries can be stronger, richer, and safer. And that's in both our interests. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, so I have a quick question with the pharmacare. So this started to tell figures from the government are just trying to scrap the pharmacare.
This is a terrible, what they're proposing, let's be clear what they're actually proposing. If you look in the bill, you can Google this, look up the bill on the government's own website. They want a single payer system. Single payer system sounds harmless. You know what it means? It means no more private drug coverage. They want everybody to be forced to use government drug plans. So if you have a private plan through your workplace, you will lose it under NDP Liberal drug policies. And you will be stuck with a inferior government-run plan. And that is the worst thing that could happen. So they want to spend tens of billions of dollars setting up a national bureaucracy. This is a government that can't even deliver you a passport on time. And now they want to take over your drug plan. Why would we trust these incompetent, money-hungry politicians to run your drug plan? I don't trust them to do it. I will protect the right of Canadians to have their own private drug coverage, and the very small minority of people who are not covered can look at giving them some assistance. Well over 90% of Canadians already have some form of drug coverage. It's a very small number of people who are not already covered. I've heard as many as 97% of Canadians have some drug coverage, either through social assistance, their workplace, their retirement plans, or that they decided to buy through a private insurer. The government, the NDP Liberals want to ban all of that and set up a government bureaucracy to replace it. That is very risky, very dangerous, and I am 100% against it. Thank you.
Here, Mr. Poilievre.
Yes, sir.
I'm Sabrad from Omni Television. Thank you for being here, first of all. Our outgoing Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is leaving a notable legacy within the Sikh community, particularly on his vocal stance on Indian foreign interference, and has mentioned that he has more Sikhs in his cabinet than Prime Minister Modi does. Given the context, how do you believe that? Is it crucial for you to secure? How crucial it's for you to secure the support of Sikh community to hold the PMO?
Well, look, I have my deputy leader, Tim Appolji, is Sikh, a turban-wearing Sikh. My finance critic, Jasraj Singh Halan, is a turban-wearing Sikh. Those are the two most senior positions in my entire shadow cabinet. We have great Sikh candidates, Harjit Gill. We have Jesse Sahota, a very respected police officer from Delta. Bob Desange, I could go on. Right across the country, we have strong Sikh candidates. So we will have a strong Sikh representation. But what has Justin Trudeau really done for the Sikh community in practice? How many Sikhs are forced to go to food banks now after 9 years of Trudeau's taxes? Is life really better in Surrey or Brampton today than it was 9 years ago? Really? I have not found anyone in Surrey or Brampton that says life is better today than it was when Justin Trudeau took office. Housing costs have doubled in both of those places. They are two of the most expensive housing markets in the world. The international student debacle has 26 students found in one Brampton basement, 26 students living in the basement of one house. That didn't happen before Justin Trudeau. Sikhs are being assassinated on Canadian soil. He can say he's speaking out against this, but he's very easy to speak. But why is this happening? Of Trudeau and the NDP Liberals. He's a great talker, but what has he actually delivered for Sikhs? He signed on with Modi to an open skies agreement that doesn't include a flight to Amritsar. What a total act of disrespect. How could you possibly say you're going to sign on to an open skies agreement with the expatriate Punjabi community in the world? Singapore has a direct flight to Amritsar. So does Malaysia, UK, Uzbekistan. Direct flights to Amritsar. Trudeau did not even get us a flight to Amritsar, even though our Punjabi population is way bigger than any of those other places. So, wow, he stood up in the House of Commons and beat his chest and put on a big performance. What is the result for the Sikh community? Everything is worse now than it was before Justin Trudeau, and everything will be better when I am Prime Minister. We will end the crime spree that has terrorized our communities. We will make Brampton and Surrey and all other communities safe again. We'll build the homes. We'll cut the taxes. We'll get rid of the carbon tax. The Sikh trucking community is getting totally screwed over by the carbon tax. Talk to the trucking community. All of them are ask them to show you their bills, how much they're paying in Trudeau's carbon tax after 9 years. You know, I want Punjabi and all Canadian truckers to have lower fuel costs. That's what we can do that delivers real results rather than just symbolic politics like we've got from 9 years of Trudeau.
In the immigration system, we all know immigration system collapse, government admit
Who did that? Who did that?
Mr. Trudeau also.
There you go.
So my question, the deportation is the main solution?
That is that we've got 5 million outstanding permits and visas that will expire with some duplication, so it's not 5 million, exactly 5 million people, but it's millions of people whose presence here will run out. You know, if somebody is a law-abiding, hardworking, say a graduate of got a great job and they're paying lots of tax, well, we would obviously welcome that person to stay. If somebody has broken the law or and they perhaps defrauded the system, then that person would have to leave. In 1 million people a year, it's been an absolute disaster. I'm just being very blunt with you. And those people who are here illegally, of which we think there are somewhere between, according to the government's numbers, they say somewhere between 20,000 and 500,000, but they're not sure. People who are here illegally need to be expelled. They need to be deported. That's just the way it is. We have to have law and order in our country. Yes, we welcome immigrants. My wife is an immigrant. She came legally. Legal, lawful, controlled immigration is good. Illegal, unlawful, chaotic immigration is bad. And that is the line that I draw. Thank you.
Thank you. This will be the final question.
Yes.
Philippine Nation.
Yes, sir.
Hello, Mr. Poilievre. I just want to ask, how ready is the Conservative Party and Team Pierre for an election, hopefully soon? And then is there a good ethnic community in your team that would really represent your cabinet during that time?
We're very ready. And yes, we are going to, every single Canadian will look at our team of candidates and see themselves. They'll see us, a group of people who are diverse in all manners, in their industry, their geography, backgrounds, and I think we'll be very happy with our platform. Why? Because the Filipino people who've come to Canada want the promise that if they work hard, they get a beautiful life in a safe neighborhood, a house, good, decent food, in safe streets, and that's what we're going to deliver. We're going to bring home the Canadian promise, and it's going to be a welcoming country where we all put Canada first. We're all united, regardless of race, ethnicity, gender, geography. We are one people, united for the greatest country on earth. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone. The conference is now concluded. We will now be doing photos right behind the flags. So he is done for questions for now. If you would like a photo, please have your phone ready and line up by the doors here with me. We'll go one by one.